Welcome to qiphyedu. Today we'll be looking at economics P12, October, November 2023. Alright, let's start. Okay, so the first question, it asks us what is the function of money. Now, function of money is actually not in the current syllabus anymore. It's actually in the previous syllabus, but nevertheless, we'll still answer this question. So we look at these four options here, and then we go one by one and see which one is the most suitable answer. First of all, money is indeed a medium of exchange, so we're going to take here first, and then we look at B, C, D. B, it says is to be divisible into small units. Now, it's definitely not a function of money. It's not in the textbook whatsoever, so it's not correct. And C, to enable bartering to take place, is also not correct because first of all, you don't use money to barter, you use items to barter. You exchange one item for another, but it doesn't include money. That one would be bartering, right? So C is wrong. And D, to maintain its value when inflation is high, wrong as well because money fluctuates. If there's inflation, then value of money will decrease. If there's mild inflation, or if there's deflation, then the value of money is high. But it's not used to maintain the value when inflation is high, so it's wrong. So I'm going to say it's A. Okay, in question 2, in a planned economy, what will determine the allocation of scarce resources? The planned economy is an economy where every single economic plan is actually decided by the government. So there's no market forces or price mechanism that we keep in here. So this one will all be done by the government. So let's see which one is the most suitable one. So A, it says a mixture of private and central decision making, which is wrong because there is no private decision making. And B, the decisions of the central government, this is correct. And C, the forces of demand and supply. Like I said just now, this is part of the mixed economy or the market economy. It is part of market forces. C is wrong. And D, the revenue generated from direct and indirect taxes is not correct. It's not very accurate because we're talking about the allocation of scarce resources. So there's not really a connection between these two. So the real one would be B, the decisions of the central government. Okay, question 3. A key concept in classifying goods is whether a good is rival or non-rival. Now, which good is rival in consumption? And we can take a look at A, B, C, D, and then we'll see which one would be rival in consumption. Now, ice cream itself has to be made from scarce resources. About it. So, yep, that is rival in consumption. B, street lighting is public good. So, it is not rival in consumption because the usage of street lighting will not reduce the consumption for another person. So, this is non-rivalry. Radio broadcast is the same. Everyone can listen to radio, and everyone can use the internet. The internet is open to everyone, so D is not correct. Answer is A. And 4, what is a normative statement? So, like normative statement, that means the statement itself is based on opinions, and it probably may be biased. So let's take a look at these 4 options and see which one would be a normative statement. Now, A, it says a firm receiving a government subsidy will increase the supply of a good. This one is a positive statement because this can be proven. Whether a firm receiving government subsidy would increase the supply of goods, this can be proven. Now, B, negative externalities are the most serious market failure. Normally, when we see this, that means that this would probably be based on your own opinion, because this statement states that negative externalities are the most serious market failure. There are many other types of things that will lead to serious market failures, not just negative externalities. And based on the sentence structure, this could very much be a normative statement. And then C, a rise in income will lead to a rise in demand for the goods, which is factual because indeed when there's a rise in incomes, your purchasing power will be higher, and then your disposable income will be higher, and you'll buy more of that good. So C is correct as a positive statement. And D, a rise in the additional rate of income tax will decrease the incentive to work. This is correct because a rise in the additional rate of income tax would mean that more tax will be taken by the government and you have less of your disposable income. And then people will be like, if you're going to take my money in the first place, then why should I work that hard just for you to take away an extra bit of money as taxation? So D is not correct. As a normative statement is a positive statement, so answer is B. Right, so let's take at this and move on to question 5. The diagram shows an economy's PPC. The economy has moved from X to Y, so it's within the PPC to a point on the PPC. And what can be used on the diagram? So X to Y, so something like this. So A, it says current living standards are fallen, which is wrong. is definitely wrong because there's more capital goods and more, although there's the same consumer good, but capital goods have increased. So if let's say current living standards have fallen, this is not really accurate as because we're talking about the PPC itself. And B, it says the economy has become more efficient. Yep, that's correct. And C, there has been a rise in unemployment. Nope, there's a rise in employment. And D, there has been an opportunity cost of all consumer goods. Nope. Basically, if you there's for this question itself, there's not an opportunity cost of all our consumer goods. The opportunity cost here would be, in this case, right before this, that would be, if let's say you were to produce capital goods and then you produce consumer goods at the same time at point X, your opportunity cost would be RS. Now, because you're doing it on if you're trying to produce it on the PPC itself, indeed it's going to be RS as well, because if you were to produce P amount of capital goods, then your point will be Y, and then your consumer goods will still be R, and then if let's say you were to produce less of capital goods, let's say Q, then you'll be able to produce S consumer goods, which is at this point here. But now we're producing more capital goods and less of consumer goods, and the opportunity cost here would be R and S of consumer goods, right? So now question 6. So for this one. And then question 6, an indirect tax is imposed on a product causing total expenditure by consumers to increase, and which will identify the situation. So when there's an indirect tax and then total expenditure to increase, this means that that item itself is inelastic, because normally if the price elasticity of that product is elastic, when there's an increase in taxes, that means the increase of cost of production, there'll be an increase in cost of production. At the same time, the prices will increase, and then the total expenditure by consumers would reduce. That one will be for elastic price elasticity, but that means here it says that total expenditure is increasing. That means AC is wrong. That lets us with B and D. So definitely prices increase and the price elasticity will also be elastic. So answer is D. And question 7, the price elasticity of the supply of yogurt is positive 1.5. If the demand for yogurt rises and price rises by 20%, how much more will be supplied to the market? So price elasticity would be counted with a percentage change in quantity supplied over percentage change in price, and then that will be 1.5. And then we'll put the 20% below, so the percentage of QS here, and then this will be 20, it's going to be 1.5, and then percentage change of quantity supply, and then that would be 30%, right? So answer is D. So 30% more will be supplied to the market, right? And then question 8, in the diagram shows the market demand for and supply of a good. Now, which statement is not valid? So let's look at these 4 options here. A, price OP1, UV represents the market surplus. This is correct because if you can see here, there is excess supply and there's low demand. So the difference between the supply and demand would be UV, so this will be a surplus. And then B, at price OP3, P3X represents the quantity that consumers are able and willing to buy. This is correct as well, because now, if let's say the price is at P3, consumers are willing to spend P3 to buy X amount of goods, but then the supply is only Y, so there is a shortage. And C, if price were to fall from OP1 to OP3, the extra quantity demanded would be equal to the extra quantity supplied. So extra quantity demanded would equal to the extra quantity supplied. If the prices were to fall from OP1 to OP3, the extra quantity demanded would be the extra quantity demanded would be equal to extra quantity supplied. Nope, this is not correct. But then for D, price of OP2 is the market equivalent price. Yes, that's correct. So answer is C. Because the points U, V, Y, X, they may not necessarily be the same quantity because it's not listed on the graph, so they could be different. So 9, the diagram shows two linear supply curves labeled S1, S2, where S2 is a 45-degree line. Now, which statement about the price elasticity of supply is correct? In A, B, C, D, the price elasticity of supply is different at every point along both S1 and S2. This is not correct. If you can see here, the both of these curves start from 0. That means that its PS would be 1 regardless. So the price elasticity of supply of S1 is elastic and S2 is inelastic. Wrong. Price elasticity of supply S1 is inelastic and S2 is inelastic. This is wrong as well. And D, the price elasticity of supply is inelastic at every point along both S1 and S2. Yes, this is correct. Because if you start from 0, PS would always equal to 1. Okay, there's no way that one is elastic and one is inelastic or the other way around. Okay, question 10. Country has healthcare provided by the free market. This is replaced by the government provision of SG free healthcare. And what is the change in consumer surplus? So as you can see here, is originally the consumer surplus would only be at 1. But after it's replaced by government provision, that is 2, 3, and 4 would be its consumer surplus because now it's free. And the fact that the government can only provide until SG, not until like the end here at 5. So the total consumer surplus here will be 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's from 1 to 1, 2, 3, 4. So it says B. In question 11, what is an example of a product in joint demand with a smartphone? In joint demand, so if let's say you produce this item, then that item would also be produced as well at the same time because it will be considered an accessory for that particular product. And A, an alternative brand of smartphone will definitely be wrong because this one is a substitute. And B, a personal computer would be not really accurate, and in fact it's not really correct either because just because you have a smartphone doesn't exactly mean you buy a computer, right? But let's look at C and D. Headphones that can be used with a smartphone, yes, because normally when you buy a smartphone you'll be wanting to use it along with your headphone. And D is not correct. It says the metals used in the manufacture of the smartphone. This one would not be correct, right? Joint demand basically means two complete products. Like when you buy this product, then the other would also be in production, and then you also have the demand also be available with demand. So because headphones itself can be used with phones, so it's considered a joint demand. Alright. And then for question 12, a product has a high price elasticity of supply, then what might explain this? If a product has high price elasticity of supply, they can only mean a few things. There is excess, or there's productive capacity. It has a low opportunity cost. It's not perishable. Alright. So A, it says it has high opportunity cost. This is wrong. B, it says it's 11 is C. And B, it says it has a non-perishable nature. Yes, correct. And C, it says it is classified as an inferior good. Nope. And D is also not correct. These C and D would be under income elasticity of demand, but it's not listed here, so it says B. Right. And then 13, what is likely to affect the position of the demand curve for tickets to pop concerts, but not the position of the supply curve. Okay, so assuming that the demand and supply curve looks something like this, right? And then what is likely to affect the position? So either you can shift the demand curve to the right or the demand curve to the left. So let's see which one will affect the positions. So A, it says a change in income of potential customers. Yes, if there's a change in income, then some people will choose not to buy the ticket anymore, or some people will choose to buy the ticket. And B, a change in price of tickets to a concert will not affect the supply curve. Would actually affect the supply curve, because if let's say there's a change in price of tickets, then you can assume that there's actually higher rentals and higher pay and all those that will result in the price of ticket to increase, which will affect the supply curve. And C, a charge in rent charge by many orders would also affect the supply curve. And D, a change in seating capacity would also affect the supply curve. So answer is A. At question 14, the table shows Lee's and Yim's price elasticity of demand for restaurant meals and cinema tickets. So you can see that for restaurant meals, Lee has the price elasticity of demand for Lee would be elastic. And then for cinema ticket would be inelastic. And for Yim both are inelastic. Just that cinema ticket is more inelastic. and there's a rise in the price of food products, and what can definitely be concluded after these price changes. So if you see, if there's a rise in product of restaurant meals, definitely for Lee, he or she could choose to reduce their expenditure at restaurants, so the restaurant owners will receive less income. Okay, so A is not correct, and B will spend more money on both products. Wrong, because for restaurant meals it's elastic, so Lee will spend less, but cinema tickets, yes, he or she will spend more, but not for restaurant meals. And C will spend more money on both products, is correct, because both are inelastic. And D, cinema owners will receive less income. Wrong, because both are inelastic, so both will receive more income after the price increase. Question 15, let's see. So question 15, a government fixes a maximum price for product in order to increase in consumption. What will be the likely outcome of such a policy? So maximum price could be something like this, below equilibrium. So A, consumption will fall if the maximum price is above the current equilibrium price. Wrong. If let's say maximum price is above current equilibrium price, then suppliers will then sell at the equilibrium price. They will sell at the maximum price. And B, consumption will rise if the maximum price is below the current equilibrium price. It is not correct as well, because if you were to price it below the equilibrium price, there would be a decrease in supply and an increase in demand, but then there will be a shortage. And then C, production will fall if the maximum price is above the current equilibrium price. Nope. Production will rise. And then D, production will fall if the maximum price is below the current equilibrium price in this product. So 15 is D. Question 16, the diagram shows demand and supply curves for a good. S1 is the original supply curve. S2 is the supply after tax is added. We'll shift to left. How much tax revenue is earned by government? So you can see that after the supply curve shift to S2, the quantity is now at 20 and the price is at $16. So we can just look at the S1 curve here. You see that at the quantity of 20, the price is at $6. So originally before tax it will be $6, after tax will be $16. So 16 minus 6, we get $10. And then we can just use 10 and then we multiply by 20, so we get $200. So answer is C. And 17, what is transfer payment? So transfer payment is basically a payment given to someone but then no production takes place. So A, it says advertising expenditure, which is wrong. And B, allowance given by parent would be correct, because the child receives the money without producing anything, without being an occupation or whatever. And C, the rent paid to a landowner by a tenant farmer is not a transfer payment. This is rent paid because you're using the land. And then D, the wage paid to a worker, that person is producing something, is doing work, so D is not correct, so answer is B. Question 18, what best illustrates the process of privatization? It's basically when originally a national company is being taken over by a private firm. Alright, so A, it says a single private shareholder acquires complete control of an organization. This one is not exactly correct, because we're talking about privatization in general. This one, it says that you're acquiring complete control of an organization. It's not that. The organization itself could be already a private organization to begin with. And then B, the purchase of government bonds by private sector commercial organisms. So you're purchasing government bonds, so the bond itself still technically is released by the public sector. And then C, the purchase of shares in a private company is not process of privatization, because the private company is already privatized to begin with. So C is not correct. And D, the transfer of public sector assets to the private sector is privatization, because it's from a national firm and then it turned into a private firm. Answer is D. And then for 19, what defines a progressive tax? Progressive tax is when if you're on a low income, you're paying like maybe this percentage of tax, but then if your income increases, then you're paying more of the tax. So basically it's at a higher percentage, you're paying more of the taxes, right? So A, it says low income earners pay the same proportion of taxes as high income earners. This is wrong. And then B, low income earners pay a lower proportion of income taxes than the high income earners. This one is correct. And then C, low income earners pay less in tax than high income earners. Not exactly. Because for some people, for progressive tax is basically when you're paying a lower proportion of income. Let's say like if you earn 3,000 ringgit a month, you're paying like maybe 10% of your income tax. Then if you earn like 10,000, you're paying 20%. So low income earners pay a lower proportion of income taxes, but the definition is not like less in tax than high income earners. This one is not really correct. And D is definitely wrong. So answer is B. Question 20. An increase in what will shift the aggregate demand curve in the economy to the right? So this would be your AS curve, and this will be your AD curve, and then we shift it to the right, so we call it AD1. So the increase in what will shift the aggregate demand curve to the right? So we look at A, B, C, D, and C, which one will be the best answer. So A is budget deficit, which is where your expenditure is more than your revenue. So yep, it is A. But then let's look at the others. B says consumer savings, which will decrease the aggregate demand, so wrong. An increase in general price level. An increase in general price level would be the consequence of your increase in AD. So it's not the cost that will shift the AD curve to right to begin with. That's a consequence. And D, the interest rate. If there's an increase in the interest rate, there will be a decrease in aggregate demand. So D is wrong, so I'll say A. Question 21. Which effect of inflation is described as redistributive? So for this one, this would be when the inflation itself is redistributive. A, it says an improvement in terms of trade, which is wrong. B, it says a deterioration in the balance of trade, not really correct. And C, it says the inconvenience of frequently changing prices, not really correct. And D, the loss of purchasing power of people on fixed incomes, yes, this is correct. So this is when people who have like a variable income, they may have an increase in purchasing power because they are earning more, like they're not on a fixed income. But for people who are on fixed income, if let's say there's inflation, they will be much worse off. People who are not on fixed incomes will actually be much better off, depending on the situation itself, but most cases they are. So when there's a loss of purchasing power for fixed income, this is described as being a redistributive inflation, because instead of you actually being more well off, now you're becoming more worse off, right? So other people are becoming better off, those who are not fixed incomes. Okay, question 22. In which situation will country sale of trade improve? So this is when your the price index of exports divided by price index of imports times 100. So its total value of imports rises less than its total value of exports. Not really correct, because this one will be for balance of trade. And then D, it says the volume of imports rises less than the volume of imports. Same thing as wrong. And then C, actually A is not really under balance of trade. That won't be under B, because for balance of trade is mostly for volume, right? And then for C, the price of imports rise less than the price of exports. Yes, this is correct. If your price of exports rise higher than imports, then your terms of trade have improved. And D, the value of its external payments rise by less than the value of its external receipts. Nope. It's not under terms of trade, so I'll say C. Question 23. Country X joins a customs union with country Y and will remove the tariff on the imports of good M from the country Y. Under which condition would trade creation be the largest? So which one would impact the most? So so which one would impact the most? So this one means that your tariff must be really, really large. And then we want the biggest trade creation. So C and D is wrong. So that lets us with A and B. And price elasticity of demand for good M, which one it has to be? It has to be either inelastic or inelastic. If let's say you remove a tariff, that means the price of that product will decrease. So you want to make sure that it you basically import a lot of the particular product itself. Okay, so if in that case, that means it's not inelastic, it has to be elastic. So A is not correct and B is correct. Question 24. What is likely to happen if there's a fall in the international value of a country's currency? So if there's a fall in the international value of a country's currency, that means that it could either be A, B, C, or D. Now A, a rise in the foreign currency price of its exports would definitely be wrong, because there's a fall in the international value means that there will be a decrease in the foreign currency price of its exports. And B, a rise in the volume of its exports, yes, because now there's a fall, that means your net exports would increase, so your AD increases, because now people will want to buy more because of the decrease in price. And C, a fall in the domestic currency price of its imports, nope. The domestic currency price of the import would increase. And then D, are a foreign domestic price level not related at this point. So answer is B. You can see that for foreign international value of a country's currency, it will actually result in products that we import actually becoming relatively more expensive. So price level will increase, right? So because A, C, or D is not really the answer is definitely not the answer. Answer is B. Question 25. From the same quantity of factors of production, country X and country Y each produce the following products, the following units of outputs. So country X would produce 30 sugar and 20 textiles, so that will be 3 by 2. And then for country Y, that will be 4 by 1. I can then multiply Y, so it will become 8 by 2. Now, which statement is correct? So country X has absolute advantage in the production of both goods. Nope. Not really. Country X has comparative advantage in the production of sugar. Nope. That will be for country Y. And country Y has absolute advantage in production of textiles. Nope. Both of them can produce the same amount if I multiply. And then country Y has comparative advantage in the production of sugar. Yes, because you can produce 80 packs of sugar over just 20 packs of, and then compared to country X, that will be only 30. So I say D. Okay, so for this question, following a 10% depreciation in the dollar value of the pound sterling, the UK exporter leaves the dollar price of the good it sells in the US market unchanged, and other things being equal will be the effect of the revenue measured in sterling. So that means that the pound sterling has depreciated in value if compared to, if let's say we were to use the dollar value to calculate it. There are a few reasons why the pound sterling would depreciate in value. So I can calculate it like this. So be something like this. This will be S1, this will be S2, this will be D1. This would result in a depreciation in your pound sterling because there's an increase in quantity. Alright. So now everything shifts to right, and then the price would go below, and then instead of, let's say for example, you were able to purchase $1 with £1. Now it's like £1 to probably around $0.6 for example. So there's a depreciation in dollar value of the pound sterling. So if let's say the UK exporter leaves the dollar price it sells unchanged, that means that its revenue will increase because we are now treating it as other things being equal, which means that there's no other variables other than the fact that the depreciation has taken place. So now, if let's say that's the case, that means you'll end up selling more of actually technically it's at a higher price in the monetary terms, and then your revenue will increase. So everything else that's not related to that would be wrong. The B, C, D will be wrong, and the other side is A. Alright. Okay, 27, the diagram shows the effect of introducing a tariff on a product and what determines the producer surplus that the tariff generates for domestic producers. So what determines the producer surplus that the tariff generates for domestic producers? So you can see that now because now world supply is affecting the domestic supply and domestic demand. So now we need to see which one would affect the producer surplus. So 27, that would be A is not correct because it's not just price elasticity of domestic supply and demand, it also has to be the tariff. So this one, B, it says the tariff rate and price elasticity of both domestic demand is applying wrong. Because for domestic producers, we only look at domestic supply curve. So C is also not correct because there's domestic demand, so answer is D. Then question 28, which government policy is most likely to cause expenditure switching that will benefit a country's current account? Again, expenditure switching is no longer in the current economic syllabus, it's in the previous syllabus, but we'll still try to answer that question. So which government policy would cause expenditure switching that will benefit a country's current account? So expenditure switching. So yes, switching your expenditure to something else. So everything that is not related to expenditure would be wrong. So increasing both quotas is not correct. Increasing income tax allowances, not really correct. And C, increasing spending on unemployment benefits. Nope. If you increase spending on unemployment benefits, it won't really, it doesn't exactly have to improve country's current account because they probably may be outflow money instead of being inflow. So might as well just produce more of domestic goods, which will help to benefit the country's current account, so assist D. Question 29. Which type of economic policy is likely to be considered the most effective by the government that has greater income equality as its primary aim? So we only have three policies: fiscal policy, monetary policy, and supply-side policy. So international trade policy is wrong. And then when you can look at this part here, most effective by government has greater income equality. So we can talk about taxes in general. So redistribution of income through tax collection. So the poorer people can have higher transfer payments because of higher collection of tax, and then the richer people will pay more of the tax. So taxes will fall under fiscal policy, so answer is A. And monetary policy and supply-side policy is not the primary aim. The primary aim is not greater income equality. Monetary policy is related to your money supply, interest rate, and your exchange rate. Supply-side policy is basically government's decision on development of the country and so on and so forth. So if you were to consider greater income equality as primary aim, then it's redistribution of income through tax collection. Question 30, the diagram shows four possible AES curves and an equilibrium point X. A government employs deflationary fiscal policy in order to reduce the rate of inflation in the country. The aggregate demand will be shifted to 82. And which AES curve would the policy be most effective? So you're going to see which one would cause the rate of inflation to decrease the most. So you can see that for A, B, C, D, if you look at D, the price level remains stagnant, and then it only shifts up after the 81 curve, so it would take longer time to increase the price level. But then before that, it's just the same, so B is not correct. And then C, it only decreases by marginal bit, so C is not correct, and D is also not very good. But then you realize that for A, the price level decrease is actually the greatest, so answer is A, right? So this is the end of this paper. I hope you find it useful. If you have any questions, please do comment down below, and I'll see you again in the next video, which will probably be another past paper discussion. Right, till then.